This is Hawk and Dove #1, written by Sterling Gates and drawn by Rob Liefeld, who of course is a popular and controversial, I guess, artist, image founder, so he's worked with these characters before, Hawk and Dove, created by Steve Ditko. This is in this version, Hawk is a male character and Dove is a female. That's not introduced for the first time in this comic book. That's been the case for several years. I think that was even the case in Rob Liefeld's previous work with the characters years ago. So yeah, essentially this book kind of establishes the premise. Hawk and Dove are the avatars of is it War and Peace?
Yep. And
so they've kind of mystically inherited these powers. I don't even remember what the powers are, whatever. They're kind of vaguely defined, but anyway. Yeah. You know, so they're not related, they're not dating or anything, but they're forced to work together because they are Hawk and Dove, these two individuals who don't necessarily get along.
Yeah, it seems like there is some kind of relationship there.
Well, yeah. Previously, to the female Dove, there was a male Dove, and that was Hawk's brother. That was the concept of the original Hawk and Dove. So presumably he was killed off, and now this new woman, who is not related to Hawk, has inherited Dove. And that's kind of what the first issue is about. It's kind of like they've been working together for a few years, but they haven't really established a really comfortable dynamic. There's some friction in that group. So that seems like what the early part of this series is going to be about. And then, of course, there's a plot with these zombies and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But it's mostly about how Hawk and Dove kind of interact with each other. And Dove is dating Deadman, which just seems like a weird, just out of nowhere element. I don't know if that is from the old kind of continuity or it just seems really random. Like, she's just dating Deadman. So probably people can explain to me why she's dating Deadman, but
you can see when we look at the Deadman book later on.
Oh, we're going to be reviewing the new Deadman?
Well, DC is doing like this rotating book, what DC presents kind of, and he's the character that they're starting off with.
Oh,
so.
Cool. Okay. So
maybe it'll be explained a little bit.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, Deadman is fine for, that it needs to be explained.
He's a fine young man to bring home to your mom.
So, yeah. So, Hawk and Dove. I wanted to read Hawk and Dove because of Rob Liefeld's involvement. He's probably the big draw for this book. I mean, to a lot of people, Rob Liefeld is like the worst. He's taken a lot of flack. He was like a super popular artist in the early to mid 90s, one of the Image founders. But then I think fans kind of turned on him, in some ways kind of rightfully so, in that he's not really that talented of an artist in a lot of ways. He kind of epitomizes that Image style. He doesn't have these kind of like basic drawing skills in some ways. But here's the thing about Rob Liefeld. He created Cable. He created Deadpool. He created X-Force. He created Image Comics. Those things are all going concerns today. How many mainstream artists can you say that about after 1960? Not many. Like Rob, and we all, when we were kids, people our age, you can deny it now, but you loved Rob Liefeld. Remember how cool it was when Youngblood #1 came out? You know what I mean? So I
never got the second issue.
I don't like that. Well, I don't know if it ever came out. I don't like this Rob Liefeld knocking so much because it's like he's obviously doing something right. And I think there's something about his style that appeals particularly to young comic book readers, to young boys. There's some kind of rock and roll and in your face about Rob Liefeld's style. So I was like, all right, cool. I like that they were doing a Rob Liefeld comic book. And I liked this Rob Liefeld comic book. It was not a great comic book. It kind of felt like reading an Image comic book from the early 90s. You can tell you hated this comic book.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's not to like? I mean,
What is to like?
Well, I thought I think Hawk and Dove are cool characters. I think
Really?
Yeah, I
my
think
God,
it's
okay.
a really basic concept, but I think
But there's no characters there.
yeah, there are.
Oh
Hawk
my
is like
God.
this tough. It's really basic. Like
That's
Hawk,
too basic.
I like that
He's
about
like a jerk.
Yeah,
I mean, you can
he's not a jerk.
personify war as something like cool and regal or something like that.
Right.
Here he's just like a buffnik.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Who blames his partner for things not going smoothly. It's just like why would I identify with that? He's just like a jerk.
well, it works. I mean, to me, this is like a fun comic book. I didn't love Hawk and Dove. It wasn't one of my favorites that came out. I mean, it would have been great if I would have loved it. I would love to tell people, like, the new Rob Liefeld is a great comic book. You need to go get it. You don't need to read Hawk and Dove, but to me, it's kind of like all I kind of want out of superhero comics.
You want this out of superhero?
Yeah, like I like the premise. I think the dynamic between Hawk and Dove is interesting. I'm interested in the mystery behind Dove because she has some connection to the previous Dove that Hawk doesn't know about. A little bit of mystery there. No, it's nothing revolutionary. It's nothing like it's not Animal Man. It's not even Action Comics. Nor is it as well drawn as Justice League. But I thought it was good. I don't know what to tell you other than that. I had fun reading Hawk and Dove. I think a lot of people would have fun reading Hawk and Dove.
Maybe.
Maybe the next Cable or Deadpool will be introduced in the pages of Hawk and Dove.
Ridiculous. See,
Don't you think I have a point though about Rob Liefeld introducing those concepts that have had such legs?
Yeah, I guess.
There's something going on there.
The only things I liked in this issue were the relationship between Hawk and Dove and how they're not able to really like work comfortably together. I thought that was interesting.
What more do you want?
It was a lot more.
It was,
and I did like the little
entertainingly
hint
stupid.
of Dove having something to do with the previous Dove.
Yep.
But beyond that, there's nothing. I mean,
There were zombies.
zombies are like they even like make a mention of how zombies are like lame in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the fight at the beginning of the aircraft was boring. The zombies were boring.
so.
The end page, I didn't know who the hell that guy was, but I didn't really care.
You're not supposed to know. It's like a guy
Okay.
in like a new Hawk-esque costume,
Yeah.
I think. It was kind of delightfully dumb. It was like, sometimes you just want to see like an action movie, and sometimes they can be bad if there can be bad stupid and good stupid. And I thought like Hawk and Dove was good stupid. I thought it was competently executed, had a real energy to it.
But you're ragging on the artwork from Batgirl.
Yeah, I am. I prefer the artwork and the writing in Hawk and Dove to Batgirl because I feel like Hawk and Dove was just kind of.
So you like characterless people in poorly
I think there was
executed-
just as much character in Hawk and Dove as there was in Batgirl.
There's no characterization.
I think there was. There was comic book characterization.
I guess.
I don't know, man. I liked Hawk and Dove. Anyway,
Right.
well, I guess that's our one split decision of the week. I did think the origin of Hawk and Dove was really bad. Like that was
Just the okay.
I'm probably that yeah. But even I was entertained by how bad it was. Like I don't think they came up with this. Like I don't think they created the origin. But basically there's like a flashback and like their origin is like the two boys were trapped in a room and they basically said, I wish I had superpowers, and then like this god appeared to them and said like, you have superpowers now. And that's like the origin of Hawk and Dove.
And why are you
Wonderful.
amused by that? It's just like so bad.
Because they're off and running now. Who cares? Who cares about all these superhero origins anyway? To me, Hawk and Dove was a throwback to when I was 15 years old, reading Youngblood #1. It was stupid, but it entertained me. This was kind of dumb, but it entertained me.
This was dumb and it did not entertain me.
I want to know what the mystery behind the new Dove is.
Oh, who cares?
Well, I'm not going to tell you then. When I find out.
No problem. I can live with that, I think.
Well, split decision on Hawk and Dove. But, other than that, I mean, I was kind of lukewarm on Batgirl, but I think we pretty much agree that the first couple of weeks of DC's New 52 was,
Pretty solid.
yeah, a bunch of great books. And there were a lot more released this week that we haven't reviewed. Detective Comics, I think, came out this week, so that would be the big Batman book, or one of two big Batman books.
Batwing.
Batwing, which the guy at the comic book store told us wasn't very good. We didn't get that one.
Yeah, there was Justice League International.
Oh boy.
Swamp Thing. And I'm probably forgetting something.
Yeah. So there's a lot. There's check these out, and there's a lot more DC comics out there if you want to sample some of those on your own. But so far, is looking just at the books themselves, DC 52 is off to a pretty fun start. I had fun reading them. It was fun to sit down with a big bunch of new #1 issues.
It was
this week. So
yeah, I like it. All
yeah.
right.
So that's the new 52 weeks 1 and 2. I guess
3 weeks to go.
3 weeks to go. Join us next week for part 2 of the Comics and More special look at DC's new 52 initiative. We'll review more books. Is there like a big flagship book coming out next week that's going to kind of anchor our show? Do we know what that's coming out?
Next week.
There's a lot of great stuff coming out.
There is.
We can probably look here and find out, but we won't. You guys know what's coming out, and you know that we'll be talking about it next week here at the Comics and More podcast.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Read Hawk and Dove.